Hello, welcome back to BLENDERSUSHI live noding. In this video, I'm going to explore the CSV comma separated value data using Sverchok and animation nodes. It's basically something like this. The final result. So let's say you have like a data in a like spreadsheet table. Basically, if you open up a program like Excel or numbers and you make this kind of table A, B, C, and then you give it a like a value, kind of when you're measuring things. So and then you export this out as CSV from Excel and you're getting something like this on the left, that kind of data. So the first one on the top is the, what do you call it, like a column. It's the first line, usually kind of like a tag or title, and then in this case I have this fruits names, and then for each one of the, maybe on Monday you eat 10 of apple, 5 pineapple, 3 orange, and 5 durian or something like that, and you measure it every day. So we're gonna use animation nodes and Sverchok to look at this. Spreadsheet already has one node that's dealing with a CSV. Basically, it's in the form of text in. While with animation nodes, we kind of need to build our own, but it's not that hard. It's actually quite fun, actually. So you can end up with something like this. This is gonna be the super basics CSV into this kind of diagram. The one you see at the bottom, like this, the title bar, I'm using animation nodes, and then these numbers I'm also using animation nodes. I just laid it down. While the one on the top here, that looks like a line diagram, is done using Spreadsheet. You will see that dealing with this kind of data, like a multiple of data and think of it in the form of column and rows, is becoming really important, because whatever you see in the 3D anyway, or whatever you see in the computer, is actually just a bunch of spreadsheets. Like there is this TD guy, like a technical guy who is very good with Houdini, and he say even Houdini 3D package is just a big, really big spreadsheet, and it can handle data really fast, and it's all just a bunch of spreadsheet. Even your everyday life, you can measure mostly everything, like how many hours you sleep, how many steps you walk each day, and then how cold, how hot every day is, and you can measure everything. And people do that every day. Some people job is just to look at those, just record the data and look at the statistic and then present it. Yeah, what cannot be measured is though is something that's tend to be more important, like how satisfied you are with the food, or how much love, it's things you cannot measure. But I don't want to get to be too philosophical. Anyway, let's have a look at the spreadsheet stuff. Start with a blank Blender file, save as. This is gonna be the CSV Sverchok CSV demo 001. We're gonna do super basic one, but you will definitely learn something. This is supposedly kind of fundamental. I should have made this video back then, but I think today I feel more comfortable using animation nodes and Spreadsheet. And then so we're gonna start with animation nodes first. Create a new. First we need some kind of data, so I will make pen, pineapple, orange, kiwi. Now I'll just put durian and kiwi. Okay, this is like the 4 fruits, and then you want to make some kind of data, and then maybe you eat 2 apple, 1 pineapple, 1 durian, and 5 kiwi on Monday, and then the next day you just give it a random value. Or actually, currently I'm giving a space, but I'm not gonna do that. Is it maybe not matters too much, but just to be clean, I will not give any space to this data. So this is a fruit data, and I'll just make it maybe 3 data, 8, 7, 1, 2, 2, 4. Okay, the rest of them you can actually, let's say if you we measure the quantities for the first few rows, and if you maybe at some stage you want to, okay, you measure the dimension of the apple, and then you start to give it a value, like maybe a vector value, which is this is on the top here. It's called this the kind of type of data is called integer. It's a full number, but this kind of fraction, you call it float in term of data math and programming. And you might also, okay, for the apple you have the photograph of apple, and then photograph of manapple. That's maybe something we would touch at some point, because it can be useful after all, similarly to what we did the other day with the color paletting. You know that what we did is just sourcing the color palette from the colorlovers.com website, and um, let's say you have like a bunch of cards, and then the bunch of cards, this is maybe a bunch of Pokemon cards, and you have this kind of data and the name of Pokemon, and then all these attributes. This one card represents like an object types of data with all the parameters. That's kind of something interesting that we can actually and we can use Sverchok or Animation Nodes to kind of deal with it. Having a bunch of fruits, like 4 fruits and a bunch of numbers, it's not a big deal. But if you have like 100 lines or 1,000, or like if you have like 10,000 of this kind of data, and then they're all changing, and then it gets interesting once you visualize it. So that's the main point. But we're gonna start with the most basic one. Okay, apple, pineapple, durian, and kiwi. We want to access this using animation nodes. How do we do that? I'm guessing we can grab from text block. So there's a text block reader. Text block reader will get just that data. Let me turn off always and these 3. Text block reader, not so interesting. Text block input and writer, probably more interesting. Text block reader, this is let's have a look. Let's debug this real quick. So this text block reader read all the text, and this one text block is a fruit of data. I think text block reader is the one we need actually, because now if we want to separate the line, separate text object, again this is okay, I made a wrong node, not separate text objects, but text split node. This is quite a big node. Okay, you can split text based on regex, the regular expression, or you can use a separator like comma, and you can separate text based on the number of characters, lines, words. The one we want is just lines in this case, and apparently this is expecting text. So if we plug the text block, it will convert it into text anyway. So text block reader is the one we want, and then we can separate, of course. Now our guess is this bunch of text will be separated into different lines. So let's check that real quick. If we use a debug text list, and then we look at the list, okay, it's separated into I think I was expecting to see like this kind of list like in Sverchok, like list inside the list, but animation nodes is slightly different, so it's not exactly like that. The length is 4, so we have 4 lines basically, text list. But I think it's understand there are 4 lines here, and then each line actually have a different value data. Let's see. Let's see how I did it in my CSV stuff here. Text block, split text, and then if we use the debug drawer and text list separated by lines, that's interesting. This one actually correctly showing it. And then I'm using this loop. Text list goes into string list, and then string list being separated, and we output the string list and output the text that way. Okay. Let's go back to where we were. Maybe text block input. Maybe we should use this actually. Let's have a look. Debug drawer. Well, they both are the same thing, so apparently we need, with this text list, we need to use loop to separate each one of this data into each separate column. Loop through text list, and this is gonna be separate column. And we check the string. Now we can, I believe we can look at the data more properly. Let's refresh. That's the debug loop. How about debug drawer? 8724, so it should be the last. Okay, this should be correct. We need to separate this into each column, so we use another split text, and in this case we're gonna split using separator. The separator is comma, and if we check again with the debug drawer, 8724. Okay, now they are, so we are separating the lines, and then we are separating each of the data. So apple 238 should be separate, and so on. So that should be that's supposed to be good now. Let's use a string list to output this data. Text list, string list, and here, okay, here is just a little bit tricky, maybe a little bit tricky to understand. I know, I understand it. I will use a debug drawer once again, and then have a look at the data now. You see now it's separating the data in apple 238. Previously it was something like this. It's basically we are giving this we're giving animation nodes a block of data and just a very short of data like this. And first of all, we need to separate it into lines. So we get this. We have 1, 2, 3, 4 list length of 4. They are all separated into different lines. And we are using now this separate column loop, and we are separating each line into column, so the data becoming 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, and then you see there's a get list element here, which is gonna get which line do you want, okay, or which column do you want. The first one will be apple 238. Second one will be pineapple 167, and then durian, and then kiwi, okay, and so on. So this couple of nodes to separate this kind of data. The index become really important here. Kind of like a switch. You need to switch the data on command. So I will create a new parameter here and call it. This should be an integer type of data, and this one should be called column index. Okay, so now this loop work in the background. Now we just focus on this node. If we change this, oops, I need to connect this column index into the index, of course, in order for this to work. If I change the column index, now we can see pineapple or apple or durian or kiwi. Now we can of course add more, like orange, no space, orange 4 2 3 4 3 2. Okay, orange. Maybe more data 10 2 4 6 2. We can see we can also access the orange data 4 3 2 2. So that's good. Now that we have the data being what do they call it? Being parsed. In programming term, parsing, data parsing is a kind of a popular term. Sometimes you just want to say like a filter, but you make it the data, you prepare the data so it's ready to be processed. So that's so we have our data here, orange 40 through to, okay, that's fine. Now with animation nodes, of course, if you want to do something with a text, we need to have text objects. So let's do that. We're gonna loop through each of every data, like apple 2 3 8 10. Okay, that's the string data. We want to turn it into a text object, so we need an object instancer. This should be a text object, and then let's get an object list here, and we plug this so we can loop these text objects. How many times? It's depending on the number of data here. String list. Just plug this into the instance so we know. So now in here we have how many? We have 5 instances of text objects, and we can use that for our data. Object transform output and text object output. That's what we need basically. So object is our text objects, and the text string is the string, and then turn on. And we have the orange and the numbers, the quantity we have per line, and they are on top of each other, but of course we don't want it. We want them to be, you know, arranged more properly, like maybe in the Y directions. So let's do that real quick. Just by using the index, we can arrange that thing. Okay. I plug, so currently it's plug into the X. I don't want that. I want it to be plugged into the Y. Now they're kind of being laid up like that. And of course we can use math. If you want, we want more gap, you know, more or less gap. And then, okay, the orange thinks it's the orange is at the bottom. If that's what you want, that's fine. You can also, you know, put it just like that. And the text, of course, you can align the objects, text object. You can align it. It's in this parameter that's currently turned off, turn on, and now we have this option for alignment. I just align it to the center. Okay, that's good. Yeah, there you go. That's the data here. From here, this text now it's becoming the data that Blender can understand, that can be used inside text objects. Thanks to animation nodes, that this is become streamlined. You can of course control the size and the extrusion, something like that. It's more interesting. The size, of course, but maybe you want the orange to be big and then the rest to be small. That's something you need to start work on. Maybe we need another column, or we need a list, list of data that's controlling this this data. There is actually a way to do that. Let's say you create a list, create a float list, and then there is something fill. So fill is something that we might want. Debug the list real quick. So list length. This is kind of things that I was trying to show to you. So this node, create float list. Let's say you say, okay, you want to control the size of this text, right? The first one, which is our what do you call it, the title or something? Lines title. The first one in line is apple, pineapple, durian, kiwi, orange. You want it to be larger, so let's say, okay, you want it to be like size of 5, but the rest of them should be size of 2. You can do that this way. 5 size 2. What's the length? Length is 5. Supposedly the rest of them should be like 0.3, I believe. Yes, 5, 0, 0.2. Okay, I don't need the second one apparently. Delete the second element. This is what you need to provide. So this is maybe the scale data. Scale size. Okay, size. Create a new float list, and then we just plug this into the float list, and then plug this into the size. Now you see, the orange is like the size of 5. The rest of them is size of this guy. If that's what you want. This is fill list is interesting. Okay, save this, and now if we want to control the data, how do we do that? We need to go back to this column index and make sure it goes through the data. If we use the frame number like we did in other live noding, plug the frame number into the column index. Now if I just go to the very first, now we have pineapple. Actually this is not very first. The very first is 0. So now I'm currently using the arrow keys on my keyboard, and I can go through the data real quick because I'm using a frame number to go through the data. Okay, so that's the basic of CSV using animation nodes. Now stay tuned if you want to continue and see the data, how you use it in using Sverchok. Okay, using Sverchok for the data. Basically it's similar to this, but it's much easier because we have one node in Spreadsheet that's already dealing with it. So text in, you see the text in node has a lot of options. Is the data type is CSV, comma separated value, or a Spreadsheet type of data, or JSON. This is really cool, very cool node. It can handle all this. Okay, the header field. Okay, apparently the first line is called the header. Of course we have the header fields, and the dialect will be, I think it's Excel by default. One sock is to be put all the data into one, I guess. We just load it. what is our data? It's a fruit data, okay? Fruit data. And we can just load it. Now we have apple, pineapple, durian, kiwi, orange. Now the data is already laid out nicely for us to use in Spreadsheet. If we debug each data using a stethoscope, we can see, okay, apple 2, 3, 8, 10, 2, 3, 8, 10. Cool. Pineapple 1, 6, 7, 2, 1, 6, 7, 2. Durian, and so on. So all the data is good, and now we just need a way to kind of let it out. How do you want to do it? In this case, I want to show you. You can do it in like many different ways. The most obvious one, let's see, if you have this kind of like statistical data, and okay, you have, how do you normally see it? Okay, this is the quantity. So it's going to be 2, and then this is going to be 3, 2, 3, and then the next one will be 8 somewhere up there. So this kind of line kind of data, and I will have this kind of diagram per fruit. We don't want to do it all at once at the moment, I think. So apple, we want to let it out in this diagram. So X and Y kind of diagram. So the X should be going forward like a line, and it should go up. So we can use, actually we can use line, I guess. Line. Viewer. Draw. By default, line. If we use a stethoscope, line is giving you the data that goes in X, so the rest is like 0, 0, 0. But for this Y, we can plug in our data, apple, pineapple, whatever. Okay, so we're gonna separate the data. Separate vector out. Separate the data. So now if we check the, if we, after separating the data, we want to put it back together again using a vector in. So the X is stay the same because this line goes in the X, and then the Y should be not this value data. The Z should be the same, 0, 0, 0. But the Y is this guy. And if we look at the data now, seems to be doing it. So 2, 3, 8, 10, 10, 10, 10, and Spreadsheet is doing the the data filling automatically. We don't have, of course, we don't have many data. We only have 4, so it should be 4. We want more, of course. You can give like a random value. I'll just fill it with real quick random data. We need to reload it, update the data, and then okay, the last one should be 1. So we have 6 number of data. File save. This should be pretty good. We already have the points here. So from these numbers, which is just a single list of values, it goes into the Y of our points, because of course we need the X, Y, Z, right? And currently we're laying it out in the 3D. We need the X, Y, Z position value. Okay, so now the next thing you want is probably to use something like UV connections, and then the output is, this is the default, is creating a polygon. Maybe that's what you want, but you want probably the edges, so you have something like this, which is nice. The text, this is the text from Animation Nodes. Okay, let's say we want to access the durian. Of course, now we need a way to kind of, pipe this kind of data. In Animation Nodes, we are using the list item. Spreadsheet also have list item here, but we need to join all this data first. So we need to list join them. Okay, because we don't want to having to connect these nodes one by one. There is a switch node, but I don't think this is what we want. List nodes is for if you have a bunch of data and then you have true and false. Maybe you can use switch node, I don't know, but this is easier. You join, basically join all the data, keep them separate, and then use a list item to separate the data. But we need to test it with the stethoscope. Check the data whether the data is correct. So check it out. Because like I said, in Sverchok you have a bunch of data, and inside the data you can have a list, and inside the list you can have another list, you know, just like the Matryoshka dolls. So you need to be aware of the level of data you're dealing with. Check with the stethoscope. We join the data and then okay, it seems to be correct. And we want to list the items. We want the item number 1, number 2, yeah, and it seems this is okay. This is the default. Seems to be okay. We just pipe the item into the Y, and see, apparently this is not correct. This is not the data we want. We need to join it maybe level 2. Kind of guessing here. Okay. Okay, the level output should be 1. Apparently, stethoscope. You see, this is the Sverchok type of data, level 1 and level 2. With level 2, it's a listing. Each of the item is become a list again. We don't want that. We want it to be this type of list, not making each value to a list. It's a very Sverchok thing. It's actually very cool. It's like different kind of data structure. So durian 1 3 2 5. Is this correct? Maybe not correct. That's not durian. That's something else. We want to use the frame info, and current frame goes into the item, of course. And now let's investigate. So Apple, let's check the data. 1 2 3 8 2 3 8 10 6 1. We are missing 2 data, so back to animation nodes. It's in here, the length should be based on this list, I believe. So if we have more data like 8 8 8 8 8 and updates, now it should be correct. Apple, pineapple, durian, kiwi, orange. Okay, and then the diagram here, up here, that we create using Spreadsheet, is updating. So like I said, sometimes for things like objects, using animation nodes is much easier and much, I guess, much simpler. It depends. Spreadsheet also can deal with text objects in a different way. But this is the result that I want to show you. For pineapple 1 6 7 2 3 8 5 8. Of course, if we want to see the data here, maybe in a more numerical way, we can do that using Sverchok. Sverchok actually have the viewer nodes that deal with this. It's called viewer index. And viewer index has this text that we can plug in. The text might need a vertices, so vertices should be coming from this guy. So currently it says like it's only showing the text data It says 2.0. Turn on background just so it's clear. Background can be black. Okay, it's 222. It's only displaying the first data. We might need to separate the data, or we are using different level, maybe. Let me think real quick. I will open my CSV stuff here and then quickly pick into this. Okay, list split. Okay, we need to split and then we need to unwrap it. Back to this demo. Again, this is a Spreadsheet, and sometimes it's expecting that the data list in some kind of structure that it wants. So we need to use list split. List split. The item goes in there, and then split the data and plug in there. So that's what we want. 1, 3, 2, 5, 6, 7. If we look at in the full screen, so that's durian. 1, 3, 2, 5, 6, 7. 1, 3, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8. Actually, we need one more. Back to compositing. The line number should be coming from this guy. Number of vertices. Let's reload the data. And okay, that's to be more correct, you want to maybe use a list length from Apple, actually not from Apple, not from this guy, plug into this guy, So now whatever this length one, yeah, if we have more data like this one, maybe 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and then reload and update. Oh no, it's failed. Wait, I did something wrong. This data 5. We want to know how many lines we have. Debug this stethoscope and check this. It's not this guy. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8. Debug. List length. Stethoscope and check the data. We have 8. So that's correct. This should go there and then update the data. It will update. It should update. I want it to update properly here. If we add more data, I want this to update automatically. So there you go. Yep, it's worked. It all works properly. Back to full screen. Okay, this is again kind of like a quick video tutorial. It's the basic one. It's how we can we provide like a CSV type of data, like a spreadsheet type of data that you export out as a comma separated value data, and we learn how we can parse it using animation nodes, and we can, of course, now we can have this orange and then 432 whatever being laid out, basically to be able to read the data. Okay, and Spreadsheet also read it quite fluently because it has nodes that's dealing with CSV. So now we can we have this kind of data visualizations very quickly. inside Sverchok and Animation Nodes. And as a bonus, I guess in Sverchok we actually have this that I never use. It's called it's a viewer type. It's called polyline viewer. I always forget about this polyline. This polyline is will output a curve. Okay, curve type. So you need to just plug in the vertices in there, and we have a curve. The curve type is looking like this. It's a little bit funky. Each one slightly different in. It shouldn't be different in depth. Well, maybe I need to turn on B-spline. Oh, B-spline is just gonna resemble it. The depth radius. Well, I guess if we resample it more, it's kind of funny. If we resample the line more, range, using range float, start, stop, 1, count. See, more resembling, and our line is more like what we're expecting. Cyclic off, and then count. The number should be between 0 and 1. So B-spline on, B-spline on. If it's on, and I adjust this, you see we have a curve that looks like that. It's smoothing the lines. Okay, that's what B-spline is, I think. But we don't want that, so I guess this should do it. Yeah, this is better. Now everything is renderable, except for the text here that we can actually bake somehow. If we use text baking, where's the text baking? There's a viewer, draw. Spreadsheet, show bake UI, so we can bake it as a font. But last time I used it, it's a bit there's a bug, but I think they fixed it already, so I just need to wait for the next versions. You can bake these numbers in Sverchok. There's a 1, 6, 7, 2, 3, 5, and so on. So anyway, just one to make it nice, we use a matcap. This is just for a quick demo. You always can use matcap, or you can use your own text to normal. Of course, here with a text you can change the font. But there we go. This is a very cool, very quick visualizations tool. This is using simple data, but if you change the data, the CSV data, you're using your own value, this will update accordingly, and that's really cool. So this is the basic look into CSV, or how we can read a value data from outside, bring it into Animation Nodes and Sverchok, and kind of use it and further use that raw data. Okay, hopefully you find this video tutorial useful. Please give a like and leave comments if you have any questions, and then you can subscribe to this channel, and I will make more video like this tomorrow. Okay, thanks again for tuning in. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you.